I want to tell you a little fun fact about myself, but I'm going to be honest, I kind of hesitate to because a lot of you are going to look at me differently and probably like me a whole lot less, but anyway, I'll just tell you anyway. I like running. There, I said it. Now I know what you're thinking. This girl needs a psych evaluation, which, I don't know, you're probably right, but I really enjoy running. It's my escape. It's where I find a lot of peace. It's one of the majority, I like to spend time with God and take care of the body that He's given me. I really enjoy a lot of things about running. The challenge of it, the health aspect of it. There's so much. But one of my least favorite things about running is winter. I do not like the winter. And when winter comes, because I know what that means. It means long miles on a treadmill. One of those things where you're putting in a whole lot of effort, but at the end of the day, you're not going anywhere, right? And this past winter, I did just that, week after week on the treadmill. And I'll be honest, it was not fun. It was not exciting. It was not something I felt motivated to do very often. There were plenty of days where it would have been easier to just skip it, to cut it short, to give up, but I kept showing up. Not because it felt great in the moment, but because I knew that I had a goal. I believed in this process. I prioritized keeping myself healthy, taking care of the body that God has given me. And over time, I noticed that something interesting started to happen. That the quiet, often unglamorous faithfulness started to add up. And when it came to the race that I had been training for, that I ran just a couple weeks ago, when it came time to run that race, I ran better than my goal. I performed better than I expected, and I even placed in the race. That was something unthinkable. Now, I don't share this to, make a video about running. I don't share this to be boastful, but to share with you simply what God has been teaching me over the last few months. That faithfulness in the small things actually leads somewhere, because I feel like it could help a lot of people. Now, Jesus says something similar in Luke chapter 16, verse 10. He says, whoever is faithful and whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted, or is also faithful in much. Now, that's a simple statement, but when we actually think about it, it's quite deep, right? Because most of life, it's not really in these big moments, not like a highlight, big breakthrough, right? We kind of think of big moments as like when people, when we graduate from high school or college, right? Or some sort of degree program, when we get a job promotion, when we get married, right? These things don't happen every day in our lives. Those are the big moments. So much of life is revolve around these little moments. Very little. The routines, the discipline, the consistency, the ordinary faithfulness that doesn't feel exciting in the moment. The kind of faithfulness that really takes work and real trust day in and day out. And honestly, that's where most people struggle. Not in the big moments, but in the small ones. Now, Jesus here, he's not talking about just talking about money or responsibility. He's talking about character. The kind of person you are becoming when no one is watching. That's character, right? Because most people don't just suddenly become disciplined. Most people don't stumble into strength and just become consistent or faithful overnight. Just in the big moments, right? They become that way because they practiced it in the small moments. And that's why this matters so much spiritually, because faithfulness is often quiet. It's not always celebrated. It's not immediately rewarding in the moment. It's kind of delayed gratification, but you have this assurance, this knowledge that you know that God sees it. And more than that, that God uses it. So I want you to ask yourself and be thinking this week, what are the small things in your life right now that God is inviting you to be faithful in? Maybe you're just like, man, I've been neglecting reading the scriptures lately and spending time with God in prayer. I'm going to be faithful in that this week. Maybe it's your responsibilities at work, right? You have just kind of been half doing some things, your housework and chores, or your real work, right? And you're like, I'm going to devote myself to doing that for the glory of God this week. Maybe it's in your relationships with your spouse or your kids, right? Giving your all to them. And maybe it's just doing the next right thing consistently, even when it feels unnoticed. And I promise you, because God promises you, that over time, these small acts of obedience become the foundation for something much greater than you can even see right now. And I promise you that it will be rewarded. So I challenge you, pick one area of your life where consistency may be lacking and commit to being faithful in it. Not perfectly, but intentionally. Because in God's kingdom, nothing faithful is ever wasted.